Okay, so I'm going to show you how to remove a green screen and use the various key light functions here and settings to just fine-tune the area that you want to keep, the area that the video that you want to keep, and then that will enable you to place that foreground that you keep over a new background. Okay, so this is what we're going to end up with. These are the project files, and we've taken this video here, which was on a green screen background of the two subjects, and replace them on a new background. Okay, so if you open download from Teens and open the file called Keying Start, and then you will see this is our original video here. You can see we've got a green screen background here. So removing a coloured background like this, it tends to usually be green. It's sometimes referred to as chroma keying as well. You can get sometimes you get blue is used, but green is the most common because it's different from the skin tones of a person's skin tone. So it's easier to remove without removing any of the person, basically. Okay, so first of all, if you go over to the Effects and Presets panel, and if you type in a search for key, and then you will get all the functions that relate to keying here. We're going to use this one here, which combines key light, key cleaner, and advanced spill suppressor, should I say. If we drag that over onto the video that we want to apply it to, and then you will see that appears in the controls appear in Effects Controls here, and then we can use these to basically fine-tune and tweak our selection of the video. The area we want to keep when we remove the green screen. Okay, and then if we go over to Effects Controls here, if you see where it says Screen Color underneath Key Light, we can select the color picker here. We can mouse over our green screen, okay, and we can select which part, because obviously the green screen itself has slightly different tones in it. So you can click on a part of the green screen, and you'll see that when you click, it removes any pixels that are of that color or similar to that color. Okay, so now that's removed, we just see our video. The black background here basically represents transparency. So this is our video now on essentially a transparent background. Okay, so what can actually be quite useful, if we just click on the project panel here, and if you go into the footage folder here, we've got the two backgrounds. If you drag down the log home background and drag that below our video, you'll see how it will look in relation to the background. If I scrub the playhead here, you can see that the video's playing okay over the top of this new background. Now the key thing here just to be aware of, if we click back on Effect Controls and click back on the foreground video layer, you'll see here where it says View. If you just select, at the moment it's set to Intermediate Result, or it should be by default. If it's not, if you set it to Intermediate Result and you get this view. If we now go to Final Result, this is how it will finally look when we publish it, when we render it. And you'll see that there are some issues here around the edges of the video. So this is where we can now use these key light settings to kind of fine-tune and tweak the edges of the selection here. Okay. Now if we go to View again here and select Status, this shows us in terms of transparency, what's completely transparent is black, what's completely opaque is white, and what is semi-transparent is grey. Okay. Now our ideal is we want all the background to be black, and we want the subject to be white. Okay. Okay. Now to compare our finished video with this transparency or alpha channel representation, what we can do, if we double click on the keying layer, and you'll see it'll open in a separate little window here. If it does open in another tab, what you can do is you can just drag the tab. Just bear with me. Yep, so if it does open in another tab like this, which it should do by default, so you can see this is the layer tab, this is the original composition tab. If I grab the layer tab here and just drag it to the far left here, and snap it to the far left, you'll see we'll get it in a separate window, and then we can just adjust the size of that. So we've got the layer view and the composition view a similar size. Okay, once you have the layer in one view and the composition in another view, we want to set the layer back to so there are no effects applied to it. To do that, if you go down to the bottom right, you might need to just click and drag and expand the window a bit. If you go to bottom right here where it says view, click on the drop down and just select none, and that will remove any effects from that view so you can see the original green screen. Okay. Yeah, and then we can go back to screen color here, click on the color picker, and we can click on an area of the green until we see a view here that has predominantly black in the background and the subject is predominantly white. Okay, so it's a good first step in kind of the best selection possible, and you'll find that you know, depending on where you click on the green area, you'll get quite different results. Okay, you'll see there's not much black at all. So I think I'm going to go back to here. If I click about here, then we see we've got quite a lot of black in the background and quite a lot of white in the foreground, which is what we want. Okay, so we can now close the layer view and we're back to the full composition view. Okay, and then we can use, if we go over to effects controls here, see what it says screen gain and screen balance. We can use these settings to sort of maximize the amount of area that is black in the background, white in the foreground, as I've said. If you want to change these values, click and drag them incrementally. If you hold down Control, click and drag, it will help you just fine tune the setting, rather than if you don't click Control, it will probably change the value too dramatically. Okay, so there you go. So it's always an element of compromise, but you can see there probably got predominantly white in the foreground and predominantly black in the background. So again, remember you can always switch in the view here, switch back to intermediate result to see how that's looking. So that's not looking too bad over our background. It's a good idea periodically as well just to switch to final result, and you'll see that this will give you the final view of it, and you can see that we've still got some issues around the edge here if I switch to final result. Okay, I mean you can tweak these settings with final result, the final result view as well. And sometimes it's useful to just do it over the background as well, because that's obviously, this is how it's going to appear to the audience, the viewers finally. Okay, the various settings here to experiment with. Not going to go through them all. You know, you can experiment with these individually, but just to point to one or two, we've got screen matte here. If we expand that, various settings here, quite useful. One can be screen softness here, so this will soften the edges of the video. I'll just turn the softness up a bit. You'll see that it's just softening those a bit. Okay, so really it is a question of fine-tuning and tweaking with these various settings. Okay, so we've used the key light settings here. We can also switch. So remember, we've got 3 different effects here we can use. So if we click on key cleaner, select that, key light will be turned off. So under key cleaner here, you've got things like additional edge radius, which again you can experiment with. Things like reduced chatter. If we turn that on, that has the effect of smoothing things slightly. Okay, and then finally, just to make you aware, we have advanced spill suppressor as well. If we go to method here and change that to ultra, that introduces some more settings to experiment with. Okay, so I will leave you to experiment with some of these, but I'm reasonably happy with this. We've actually, if we scroll back up here, we have the final result view here, and it's not looking too bad. I can scrub through. Again, there's always room to fine tune. You know, if we actually zoom in here, we can see areas around the edges here that maybe could be improved a little bit. You can see a little bit of transparency here in the hair, but again, it's really keeping in mind how this is going to appear to the final audience. Okay, so yep, I'm reasonably happy with that. So if we save that, and that's an overview of how you remove a green screen. Okay.